Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt, and you are watching part 2 of a D&D 5th edition adventure entitled Sewers Under Sandwall. This is an adventure that I have written and published in module form through absolutetabletop.com. So you can follow the link down in the description if you're watching this and you're like, hey, this sounds pretty cool. I want to run this for my players, or I want to give this to my dungeon master, or whatever. You can check it out there. So I am joined again by four, as we call them in the description, four brave idiots who are now going to introduce themselves and introduce their characters. We're going to start from left to right, and we're going to start with Ben. Ben, please introduce yourself and your character.
Well, my name's Ben. I'm just a guy. I don't have any YouTube channel or anything like that, but I've definitely enjoyed watching Jake's stuff and Matt's stuff and Captain Gothnog over there, listening to them, watching their stuff. So, big fan of theirs. I'm playing Philip von Wincliffe, the snobby rich son of a baron.
Awesome. And I also just noticed your shirt. That's great that you're wearing that, Ben.
Yeah, my mom got it for me after our last session together.
Awesome. That's
That was
great.
cool.
All right, Alex, go ahead.
All right, I'm Alex. I play Benson Cooper. He's an older guard. Hasn't really made a name for himself. Um, uh, as a as an adventurer, he's pretty much been a town guard most of his life. His family has been. He carries his father's sword. Was his grandfather's as well. He he's a stickler for rules and paperwork. Paperwork has to be filled out in the appropriate manner. The reason we have civilization is because we have these rules to keep it together. He's a family man, but doesn't talk much about his family, and he is here to do a job, and he's going to get it done. And you
Great,
can see
man.
him right there.
Ooh, yeah, I like that overlay. Nice. All right, Carl, go ahead, man.
All right. I'm Carl, and I am the primary host of the channel D20 plus one. We just started running an adventure on there called Beyond the Horizon. If anyone would care to look at that, it's been a lot of fun. We have gone through 2 entire sessions with no combat and very minimal dice rolling. Lots of character development, and I really love this group of people that we've got together for it. I'm playing Brandon Brush Bowers. He is kind of a wispy little punk, rebel without a cause. He is a legitimate businessman slash smuggler, and he seems to have a little bit of a bone to pick with law enforcement. So, yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Awesome, man. And yeah, those games that you're running are in my watch later queue. I can't wait to get to them because they sound awesome. I love that you haven't had combat in 2 sessions. That's great. All right. And last but certainly not least, we've got Jake. Go ahead, man.
Hey, internets, I'm Jake, and I'm also known around the internet as Mini Terrain Domain. I have a YouTube channel where I both run live games and I do 3D dungeon terrain crafting, and I show you how to do it on the cheap. And I also have a new venture, primarily on Facebook, but on YouTube as well, called Fat Jake to Fit Jake, that is a fitness journey. I will be playing Gabriel Algernon Featherstone, a human wizard from the Arcanus Collegium, sent to investigate the strange goings-on in the region.
Great. All right, so I'm going to do just a brief recap here just to get everyone caught up to where we are and what's been going on, just because it has been a few weeks since we played. Initially, I wanted to run this over consecutive weeks, but then some scheduling stuff happened and some work stuff happened, and it just didn't work out, so I'm glad that we're able to get together now and do it. So, the party of adventurers, through various reasons and motivations, has business in the village of Sandwall, which is a little fishing village that sits on Bleakwater Bay. And these four adventurers found themselves in a uncharacteristically quiet and empty village, one that was closed off to many visitors, but they managed to talk their way into the village to get done what needed to get done. And they found that a plague of some sort of illness had kind of swept through the village, and many of the people were bedridden, and several of the village elders and a couple of children had already been claimed by the illness by the time they got there. So it's a fairly fast-acting sort of illness. They spoke to the bartender, this barkeep, who mentioned that people weren't really eating or drinking because they believed that it was the water and the food and the various fish and shellfish that come from the bay that they normally subsist off of somehow tainted. The adventurers also found that there was some sort of attack on the village a few nights prior to when they got there by some sort of man-shark hybrid creature. They went and spoke to the mayor as well, and managed to get out of him that, yes, indeed, some sort of man-shark creature had come over the wall. The village was plagued with problems. The mayor didn't really know how they were going to deal with all of them, but he was eternally grateful to these four adventurers who offered to help. And they went down to the bait shack on the beach, where they saw the corpse of this man-shark creature that had attacked the village, and they inspected it, found some various things about him, and came to the conclusion that the man-shark is actually someone from the village, someone who had left the village and gone to the sewers to try and figure out what was going on. And they found an earring in his ear and a very particular scar on his stomach, which led them to find out that it was indeed someone from the village. The other man who left, his brother, is still missing, so who knows what's up with him or where he is. They also did battle with some bats that came up out of the well that were exploding and exploding the air around them. That was kind of a hectic combat, but they managed to survive that. And they set off towards the sewers under Sandwall. When we left them, they were just entering the sewer, and they discovered that there was some strange, kind of viscous, almost green glowing just sludge coming out of the outlet pipe for the sewer. So when we left them, they were just entering the sewers, going into that pipe, and who knows what awaits them in the darkness. So, any questions, guys, before we get started, or anything you want to add to that recap that I forgot about, because it has been a while?
I think that was the main points, really. I know we were just about to enter the sewer.
Yeah.
So
that's the important thing, is they're about to be knee deep in some crazy shit here. So let's get down to business. So go ahead. Benson Cooper is not going to let anyone else go first if he can avoid it, because I was just going to ask.
He is here
first in line.
Yeah, he's to look after everyone and make sure that they are safe. His responsibility. It's a family legacy. He's not going to let his family name down. So he's moving toward the sewer. He's doing his best to avoid stepping in large masses of this stuff if we can. Like, just trying not to like step knee deep in any of this sludge if you can avoid it. But it's not going to stop him. So he's just kind of like take these long, broad steps over, quivering lumps of jelly and trying to get to the sewer entrance. Now, I don't remember. Is the sewer entrance like at ground level, or is it elevated, or?
It was slightly elevated, but not so much that you guys couldn't climb into it. So
okay.
It's basically elevated enough so that when the tide comes in, it's not buried in the tide, basically. So,
gotcha.
Or underwater, basically. So. And the stuff, the kind of viscous green glowing stuff, it's kind of running in a shallow channel right now in the middle of the pipe. It looks like The pipe isn't gushing anything right now, so it's easy enough to just kind of walk to either side and avoid it for the most part. Your boot might step in it a little bit here and there, but nothing too heinous.
Yeah, he's pretty much resigned to getting dirty on this one, but it doesn't mean he's gonna go looking for it either. So
yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so Cooper's gonna go first. Who's gonna bring up the second position right behind Benson Cooper?
I think Philip had hopped into the tube right behind him.
Great.
And Gabriel had, just as we were heading in, had cast Mage Armor on himself and had grabbed himself a bottle of the green goo.
That's right. I love your props, Jake. That's awesome, dude.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but it may come in handy. And I'll tuck it inside a robe and just expectantly reach up a hand for somebody that's already in to help me up. I'm an old man, after all.
I'll help him, and I'll look at him and say, "You realize that bringing toxic materials into the city is forbidden, right?"
I just look down at all of the toxic material around us, and I just kind of gesture as, "Are you gonna find the sewers?"
And I imagine Brush would be helping to push this bigger wizardy type guy up as well. And as he's saying, as this exchange is happening, he would go, "This is coming from the town, right?" And then I would kind of pull myself up and look at the sludge and just say, "Those damn fishmongers are definitely going to owe me a couple new sets of clothes after all this is done with."
So it sounds like the order will be Cooper, Philip, and then Gabriel and Brush. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys delve into the darkness. What sorts of light sources are you guys using here? Because it doesn't take long for the light behind you to fade, and you're overtaken by the darkness.
Well, in his youth, Cooper dabbled in magic. He originally thought he might have a knack for spellcasting. He didn't. He didn't. He didn't have the mind for it, but he did manage to pick up a few little tricks. So he, kind of holds, transfers his sword to his offhand for a moment, moves his hand rather quickly and almost like he's trying to start a fire with his fingers, and he places on the pommel of his sword, and you see it begins to flicker for a moment, almost go out, and then glow.
Perfect. So you see the light emit from Cooper's sword, and you can see well enough. The light is, I imagine, what color is this light, Alex?
It's a simple kind of pale yellow light.
Yeah.
Like you see from a bright candles, and it kind of flickers around the end of the pommel.
So you see this yellow light sort of emit and cast long, sort of grotesque shadows across the walls of this pipe as you delve deeper into the sewers. And soon enough, you enter into kind of a long, almost entrance corridor. Soon the sound of the waves that you were hearing from the bay fades away. The thick stone in here, the walls, just muffles any sound from getting in. The smell, though, that smell that you were smelling outside from that sludge, it's only getting stronger as you delve deeper and deeper into the sewers. You see in front of you this long corridor, as I mentioned, with a kind of a deep channel running down the center, with two stone walkways on either side. The stone in here looks like mortared granite, just big stone slabs that have been stacked on top of each other. anyone who knows anything about architecture or design would probably immediately notice as very sturdy, very utilitarian, sort of almost dwarven architecture here inside the sewers. The water that is running through the channel in the center, you can't really see to the bottom of it, not because it's so deep, but because it's mingling with this green glowing sludge. So even if Cooper didn't have the light on his sword, you would be able to see just a little bit because of the glow that is emanating from this channel, and you see the sludge just kind of running down this channel down the center. Further down the corridor, you see some hallways and some other tunnels branching off. But for now, that's what you see.
Okay. Well, since I'm in front, I'm going to be, and we come to these branches, I'm going to start looking on the floor for any sign of travel. Obviously, this thing came from somewhere, so if it emerged from the sewers, then we can maybe backtrack it to its source. So I kind of look for any kind of drag marks, disturbed mud or sludge or whatever. Maybe if there's more of this material kind of pouring from one direction than another, that sort of thing. So that's basically what I'm doing. Kind of get. I'm not quite on one knee, but I hunch down, almost to one knee. I don't want to put my knee in the sludge, and I start using the pommel to sort of look at the ground for any kind of tracks or clues.
Okay, great. Yeah, and anyone who wants to help Cooper can do so. But what I'd like is an investigation check, a perception check, or even a survival check for looking for traps. Any of those three would work.
Yep.
Cool.
So
As well.
go with investigation.
First die roll of the night.
There you go. Starting out strong.
Right. I got a 21 total.
Okay, great.
26.
18 for
Nice.
investigation.
So you all kind of stick together, but start looking in different areas, and you notice a few different things looking through. You notice that that even though it's just the sludge running down the middle channel, the walls are kind of coated with this kind of odd-looking slime as well, almost as if the sludge that is running through is kind of almost evaporating into the air a little bit and kind of coating everything in just this very slick sort of viscous green sludge. You notice too that there's sort of refuse and garbage kind of collecting in the corners a little bit. Just papers, cloth, fabric, discarded pieces of metal and things like that. But you also notice tracks, lots of tracks, different kinds of tracks. Some appear to be human. There are some that you notice that are vaguely human, but a lot larger and somewhat grotesque looking. You would probably attribute this to a man shark or something like that. And you also notice some smaller humanoid tracks with some kind of long toes, almost like goblin feet. And as you all are kind of fanning out and investigating, you hear kind of like a scratching sound emanating from the channel to your right, like.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure I've been in sewers in my hometown or city. Does it sound like rats?
It sounds a lot like rats, yeah.
As soon as Phil appears, this sound, he kind of makes his way behind Benson. Kind of tries to put Benson between him and the... Just nonchalantly, not trying to draw attention to himself, but sort of slips over to the other side of the thing and kind of glances that direction.
Hey, everybody, be careful. If you reach your hand out, you might grab a fistful of mice.
I'm not giving you inspiration for that, but I acknowledge the skill.
You can, in my game, a pun like that get damage. We don't tell. No, I apologize. I forget how tall is this pipe we're walking through, this tunnel?
So it's pretty tall. It's tall enough to stand up in, certainly. I'd say it's probably between 8 and 10 feet tall. It is kind of arched, though.
Well, right, it's round.
Yeah,
I figured I meant like the peak. Yeah. Okay. Well, when I see this kind of condensation, it kind of makes me a little bit nervous. So I take off my helmet, tuck into my arm, and I take out a bit of rag and I wrap it around my face and tie it off so it's covering my nose and mouth, and I can put my helmet back on over it. So it's kind of just a little patch of cloth there. It's not very expertly done, just kind of haphazardly thrown on. So there's a little bit of cloth hanging up underneath, but he just really is not keen on breathing any of this stuff.
Totally fair. So, Benson, you're wrapping up your face. Philip, you kind of duck behind Benson a little bit. Brush, what are you doing here?
I'm actually more worried about the smell than this vapor. I reach into my vest and I pull out these what look like little cotton swabs and I stuff them up my nose a little bit. Much better. And are those goblinoid tracks? Didn't remember hearing anything about goblins.
Well, a lot of things down here. Look at all the tracks. You don't see tracks like this down this road.
Gabriel, what are you doing as everyone's kind of doing this?
Upon seeing the tracks on the ground, seemingly oblivious to the smell, and not really taking any precautions not to step in or get any of the goo on his robes or shoes, Gabriel is just kind of sketching in his notebook the tracks that he sees, and just making annotations. At the sound, the skittering sound, he just jots a few things down, and you hear him mumble something about goblins and rats, and maybe if you have to look over, he just draws a question mark and kind of looks around at everybody expectantly.
Again, more paperwork. You're worse than Cooper.
This is for my own personal edification and for the investigation, not for any sense of duty to a higher law.
I turned to give them both a look. Not exactly a dirty look, but not a friendly look either. Apart from the scratching, do any of these passages look significantly different as far as like quantity of tracks, type of tracks, or anything like that?
Not particularly. The goblin tracks seem to kind of go in every direction, particularly north and south of your position. The strange sort of monstrous tracks that you were seeing that you can kind of surmise are the man shark tracks are going off towards the west.
All right.
Now, as you all are kind of standing there and investigating these tracks and stuff, the scratching sound starts to get louder. It sounds like it's moving down the channel towards you.
Is that the western one by chance, or?
Say again.
Is that the western one by chance?
So the hallways themselves are sort of branching off from this main entrance chamber, but the channel running down the middle. So let's see. Let me think. Yeah, the scratching sound would be approaching from the west.
Okay. I say, not entirely confidently, I think there's some rats here. We should watch out for that. They can carry sickness. Don't let them bite you. And I say it looks as if the abomination must have come from this direction.
I'm wondering, as I've not had a chance to thoroughly investigate this goo that seems to be everywhere, but what is the likelihood that you think that this stuff might be flammable? And he just kind of rubs his fingers together and mutters something, and you see a couple sparks from his fingertips. Should I need to use a bit of evocation?
I kind of look down at the goo on my feet and say, well, I certainly hope not. Is there any way for you to test it, wizard, before we incinerate ourselves?
I guess I. So, how far into this tunnel are we, Matt?
Probably about 40 or 50 feet.
So, I would like to aim a firebolt cantrip into the goo near the entrance where we came from.
Okay.
Hold on a minute, because I'm now realizing that that's like a gasoline trail leading right to where we are. So,
game wouldn't give prestidigitation? That might do it.
Prestidigitation is more of a simplistic parlor trick. He seems almost disgusted that you would suggest such simple magic. Why make sparks when you can make firebolts? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this vial that I have, and with one hand, I'm going to toss it up near the ceiling down the hallway. And I'm going to fire a firebolt off at it, kind of Old West style.
Okay. Yeah.
I see Alex rubbing his face.
Rush is going to take 10 big steps in the opposite direction, kind of nonchalantly, like.
As he does this, he kind of looks back at you all and he says, "For science," and tosses it and fires off.
You toss the vial up and launch the firebolt at it. The firebolt connects with it. You hit it dead on. There's a burst of light and heat as the firebolt goes off. You hear shattering glass, and this kind of now hot, somewhat burning, vile green liquid showers down from the ceiling. I'd like everyone to please give me a dexterity saving throw.
Guess I didn't throw it as far as I thought.
Oh. I rolled
17. Oh no!
7. I'm gonna be happy with you.
So, anyone who rolled 10 or under, you're going to take 3 acid damage as the hot liquid hits your skin.
I kind of lean in front of Brandon, to sort of take the brunt of it for him. I try to get my shield up as much as possible, but some of it splashed across the mask, which I'm now thrilled to put on. Some of it catches like under my eye and across under the helmet, so I can rip my helmet off. Ah! Damn you fool! And I put my hands on my face. I take off the rag and I start wiping off.
I do offer my most sincere apologies, but at least we know it's not flammable.
Now,
and then I reach into one of my pockets and I offer a beet I still have 4 of those magic beats, and I grin with my vibrant purple teeth.
And I would take a little strip of fabric off of my undershirt and kind of dab Cooper's face with it, not real gently, but kind of trying to help him a little bit.
It's fine.
It's
Well, fine.
It's not flammable, but it's certainly is corrosive.
And Gabriel, what you noticed is that you did throw it pretty far, and you launched that fireball, but it reacted pretty violently to getting hit with that magic. Not in that it was flammable or explosive, but just in that there seems to already be quite a bit of magic at play in this liquid, and so when you hit it with that arcane magic, it just kind of went in all directions, just kind of spinning wildly through the air.
Curiouser and curiouser.
When you hold out that beat, Phyllis kind of reluctantly looks at it and looks down at the acid burns he's got on his arms and some of the fire, the burns that he collected earlier against those bats at the well. I suppose you said that thing actually helped you when you ate it, right?
Oh, yes, it's a bit earthy, but I felt much better afterwards.
It kind of makes a face, and I guess I'll try a little bit of that, and pulls out his dagger and cuts off a mouthful and pops it in and starts chewing.
Yeah, at least no one will see your teeth in here.
I believe I have written down that the magic beat heals 1d6 plus 2, and I don't know about the side effects.
Yeah, so it just heals 1d6 plus 2, and it once you eat it, you roll a 1d4, and that's how many days it takes for the purple to fade from your teeth.
Oh, good, only 2 for me.
I regained my composure after my slightly angry outburst, because I'm a professional and we have to keep our cool when dealing with drunks and wizards. I turned to Mr. Featherstone. Master Featherstone, I understand the need for experimentation. I dabbled with wizardry when I was young, and I understand the draw, the excitement. However, we're in a dangerous situation. If you could restrain that a bit and show a bit more caution, I am here to see to the well-being of you and all of these people. And we can't have that sort of thing. We can't. I turn and you see kind of reddish mark going across my cheek, under my eye, and up toward my ear. And it's red and bubbling a little bit, and he puts the cloth back on and puts the helmet back on.
Gabriel looks sufficiently chastened, chastised, but says nothing.
Now, while they're talking, Brush, you actually notice in kind of the flickering light of Benson's sword, as he's sort of dealing with the acid burns, you see a kind of dark shape sort of moving down the channel, slowly floating towards you, and that scratching sound getting louder as it approaches.
And I would be kind of looking at my handkerchief that I had used on Cooper and seeing it's kind of starting to dissolve away, and I'd be like, rats. Rats! Rats! Rats!
Once I realized that he wasn't just using an expletive, I turned my sword toward the direction of the scratching and see if the light illuminates anything.
Yeah, as you move the light source towards the direction where the sound is coming from, you see the bloated, half-rotted corpse of a grotesquely deformed goblin, just kind of floating down the channel towards you. And on top of it, there's a handful of grotesque black sewer rats that are just feasting on this body as it floats down the channel, tearing off strips of putrid green flesh. And you see that the eyes of these rats are kind of glowing green, and as they're eating, you see saliva kind of dripping from their mouths, and the saliva hisses as it hits the goblin's body, almost like there's acid coming from their mouths. As you shine the light on them, Benson, a few of them kind of turn and their beady eyes fall on you, blinded by the light a little bit, but they hiss and start scrambling up the side of the channel and start kind of charging towards you in a huge mob. I'd like everyone to please roll for initiative.
Uh, 16 for Benson.
Matt's doing way too much counting right now. I'm getting a little scared, getting a little nervous.
Yeah. So, initiative order is Brush, Benson, Philip, the rats, and Gabriel. So, Brush, you are up first as the rats come swarming up out of the channel toward you.
And I would kind of, still be pointing at them, and I would see that they're floating on this putrid body, and I'd be kind of just deeply disturbed look on my face. I don't want that to happen to me, and I just kind of reach back and pull out an arrow and knock it, and I'm just going to try to shoot the closest one to me, if I can. Or is this kind of like a big massive swarm? Are these regular sized rats, or are they?
They're regular sized. I mean, they're well-fed sewer rats, so they're a little bit bigger. But yeah, it's basically just a big swarm of them.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try and pick off a couple of them before they get too much closer. I don't particularly feel like tangling with them at close quarter, seeing that acid dripping out of their maw like that. So I'm just going to send off a couple arrows here. And that. Hold on, I got to tilt. All right, then. It's going to be that kind of night. The ones are coming, people. The ones are coming. All right. So let me find out what happens. So, Matt, how do you do crits in your
So go ahead and roll your damage, add your modifiers, and then double whatever you got.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, hey, there's a Star Wars dice in here. I probably shouldn't use that one. Alrighty, so, well, I got the lowest number possible, but that's alright. That's still, that is still 10 damage from this arrow that I'm just kind of, like, I don't even take time to fully pull it back. I'm just kind of letting it go out of almost a panic.
Yeah, the arrow kind of lands among the swarm, and you see a couple of rats just go popping up as the arrow strikes into them. You also see their blood that sprays out as the arrow finds its mark. It sprays, and as it hits the stone, you hear it go tss and sizzle as it touches the stone. So that was Brush. Brush, do you want to do any movement or anything like that in addition to your attack?
What I would like to do, if I can, sort of passively see if there's anything near me that I can kind of pick up. Because what I'd like to do is pick something up that can kind of block this acid, and then say to everyone else, find something to cover yourself with.
Right. Yeah. You do a quick cursory look around, and you see like a smashed crate to your left, and you can pick up a couple boards from that you can use as kind of rudimentary cover.
And I kind of look at it. No, better than nothing.
All right. Benson, you're up.
All right. So I sort of step toward the front, toward these things, kind of reflects the disgust on my face, and draw my leaf blade. Oh, sorry, actually, and I'll take a spit at some of the near ones as the swing of the light from the pommel now, because it's because the cast shadows wildly around us as the blade is flying through the air rapidly. Hopefully. 16 on that one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if more than one attack. I had the right wrong time.
You're a fighter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have 2 attacks at level
okay.
6. Yeah.
Yep. Just checking, and that was 22. So
both of them are hits. Yeah.
all right. So this is my my family short sword. And they takes 20 or 10. Well, it would be 10. So it would be 11 on one and on one swing and 9 on the other.
Okay, cool. So go ahead and describe that as you're just kind of hacking through these rats as they approach you.
Yeah. So I have my shield sort of in front of me, and I'm moving forward with the leaf blade as a swing, and again the light from the pommel just sort of like flashes wildly as the shadow is keeps shifting around behind us. Slice one of the rats to the head, sending it off to the side. I kind of twist it, come back at the other one, stab through it into the body of the bloated goblin, sending out a spray of nasty liquid, into the water. Like we needed more of that.
Yeah. Awesome. As you're doing that, go ahead and give me a dexterity saving throw, but give yourself advantage since you have the shield in front of you.
10 and 16. I think I'll take the 16. And so a total of 20.
So you manage to maneuver your shield as you're doing these attacks, and you manage to block the spraying caustic blood that's coming from these rats as you're cutting into them. You kind of hear it sizzle a little bit on your shield, but it doesn't touch your flesh at all.
Okay. Yeah, it's in the back of my mind. I more than the pitting of term is going on my shield, but
yeah,
better than skin.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that brings us to you, Philip.
So Philip is just watching Benson up there chopping up rats, and he kind of steps to the side and he points his fingers out and he says, "Well, I hope ice doesn't cause the same thing that fire did." And he lets off ray of frost into the massive rats and kind of mutters under his breath, "Sorry, Benson," just in case they blow up and fry him. Hey, look at that. Natural 20. Just a good night for that kind of stuff, I guess.
The hell, guys.
Nice.
I see you all got the loaded dice I ordered.
So that's 18 damage.
That's a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, so it just slams into the rats, and a few of them just kind of free solid and kind of fall over as it slams into them. And there is a little bit of blood spray, but again, Benson has his shield up, and it just kind of splatters against the surface of the shield and pits it a little bit more with the acid. All right. Do you want to do anything else on your turn, Philip? Do any movement or anything like that?
No, I'm going to kind of maybe back up sort of close to the brush and try to maybe take cover behind some of the same crate that he's hiding behind.
Okay, great. It's the rat's turn. They begin to swarm around you, Benson. You're hacking into them with your sword. You're trying to keep them back with your shield, but they swarm around you. You feel them against your boots, climbing up your leg, and you feel their little claws and their little teeth bite into you as they swarm over you.
Mm-hmm.
But the armor that you're wearing, the leather and the chain, they don't manage to pierce it and get through to your skin. All right. Yes. Okay, that was the rats. That brings us to Gabriel.
So this goblin corpse that these rats are rafting down the sewer on, does it have any kind of remnants of metallic armor, or is it like old leathers, or naked, or what?
So the goblin that they're floating down, you don't see any metal armor. You do see that it's wearing kind of like patchwork leather and hide, but you do see a short sword kind of protruding from its belt.
And the rats are all kind of on this thing. Well,
Some of them are, but yeah,
the ones that aren't on Benson.
Yeah, some of them kind of clambered out of the channel and are running down the walkway towards you.
You mentioned that there's pieces of metal laying around in the sewer.
Yeah, here and there.
Like how big? Like say a fragment of a shield or a broken sword, or
yeah, there's like a broken sword here, a couple of coins here, the lid from a jar over there.
Nothing too big. So basically, Gabriel, his initial reaction is you immediately see him kind of raise his hands up, and you see a couple of sparks, and he glances over at Benson, and immediately goes and pulls the sparks, the fire away, and he just kind of shrugs his shoulders and runs straight at this swarm of rats, kind of up where Benson is, but he's going to try to grab a couple of these rats or into the swarm with a shocking grasp.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead and roll for it.
All right. Don't fail me now. That is a 16 with the plus 6, so that is 22.
That definitely hits.
That is going to be 11 points of lightning damage.
Okay.
As I'm just kind of...
So go ahead and give me a dexterity saving throw.
And that's where I roll for crap. That is a 3.
So, Gabriel, you're going to take 4 acid damage as the rats kind of explode in your hands, and you feel the acid burning your hands and forearms as they just kind of burst, and their caustic green blood showers over you. But after shoving your hands into the swarm, grabbing a couple fistfuls and just a fistful of mice, as Carl would say, you just explode them with this lightning, and the rest of the swarm kind of dissipates. You see a few of them kind of dip into the water, a few of them run into an alcove. The ones that are just on Benson's legs, he's swatting them off. They kind of skitter off into the shadows, and the swarm just kind of fades. Now, as this happens, you all immediately hear kind of voices emanating from down the hallway that are shouting and getting closer. It seems that the commotion has drawn some more creatures. The patter of feet echo down the passageway, and from deeper within the sewers to the south, more exactly, a mob of goblins approaches. They're misshapen and monstrous. The one that is leading them is bulbous and top-heavy. He's muscled like nothing you've ever seen before, to the point where his neck is sort of disappearing into his body as he's running forward, and he has these great big bulbous shoulders. Several of them appear to be covered in what looks like tree bark, just this thick, flaking tree bark all over their bodies. And there's even a couple that have these gigantic jaws, these huge teeth that are just kind of protruding from their mouths to the point where it looks like they can't even close their mouths. The teeth are so big. As they come around the corner, they spot you with their yellow, putrid eyes and don't hesitate to charge forward. So we're going to keep the same initiative, but I'm going to go ahead and roll for the goblins. Ooh. That's a 20 for the goblins. See, I can roll good too, guys. Okay, so 21. Okay, cool. All right. So the let's see. I can show you a picture here. Maybe. Come on. There we go. So what you see leading the pack is a goblin that looks something like this. Just the biggest, most muscled goblin you've ever seen. Just like this dude works out at the gym like all the time, maybe. And he's flanked by a couple of goblins with just gigantic teeth, as well as I guess I don't have the art for the bark goblin in here, but as well as the goblins that are covered in the bark as well. So they charge forward. Benson and Gabriel, you guys are standing at the front. The Brawn Goblin immediately picks up on the fact that you are smaller and slighter, Gabriel, and is charging at you. And in fact, it sort of charges ahead of the pack and pounces. You see its legs just kind of springboard it forward, and it leaps through the air at you and brings its fist back in a punch.
I'm a wizard!
Oh man, that's a 1 and a 2. I rolled a 1 and a 2 on my goblin attacks. You gotta be kidding me. So he comes forward, and its fist comes down. You just barely dodge out of the way, Gabriel. Its fist slams into the stone, cracking one of the flagstones on the ground, and then it kicks forward with one of its legs and tries to sweep you into the channel, but you manage to dodge to the other side and get out of the way. The goblins with the teeth charge forward at you, Benson. There's 2 of them. One of them manages to clamber over your shield and bite down on your arm for 6 piercing damage. You just see these giant yellow teeth just crush on your arm, and they're not sharp, but the strength this thing has in its jaws, you can feel if it's going to hang on much longer, it's probably going to break your wrist. The goblins that are covered in the bark hang back, draw forth arrows, and start firing short bows at you guys. One of them strikes you, Brush, for 6 piercing damage. All right. Now it is your turn, Brush.
Okay. Did we heal at all? Technical question from the time we fought the bats, or are we still at that HP as well?
I think you guys healed up.
I thought we took a short rest.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys took a short rest. I distinctly remember that.
I'll take it. You said 6 damage?
Yeah, 6 damage.
Okay. So, making me do math. All right. Okay. So I'd like to imagine that you said I got hit with an arrow. Is that right?
Yeah, a grubby goblin arrow.
And it kind of sticks right into my shoulder, and I just kind of, you see me pull it out like real slow, and I'm just staring down this goblin as I knock the arrow back up and shoot it back at him. So I'm gonna see what that does first. And Matt, you're gonna kill me.
What the hell, dude? Get it all out of the way now, I guess. Get all those crits out of the way.
Shit.
We got a couple more hours, buddy. So you might want to save those.
I know, right? Cash them all in.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. So, that's 12 damage.
12 damage. Okay, cool.
And I'm gonna pull back, knock one of my own actual arrows, and try to sink it into him. Even if he's dead at this point, I'm gonna try and hit him again, which is 20-something, which I'm assuming hits. I really can't math right now. It's terrible.
Yeah, that definitely hits.
Calculator to do some arithmetic here.
Yeah.
And that's going to be 10 damage.
So you actually do enough damage to drop both of the goblins with the bark skin. You take that arrow that hit you, drop it into the first guy. He goes down. Draw another one. Boom. The other one goes down. Both of them just fall. Their bows clatter to the stone as you expertly take them out.
I would end that. That would be like I would imagine it's like real quick, and then there'd be a moment of badass silence, and I'd be like,
It hurts to pull a bow when I just got shot with an arrow. All right, Benson, you're up. So these 2 bite goblins are just kind of scrabbling all over you. It was rats, and now it's goblins. You just can't catch a break.
I know. It's my life. So the one that just came over the shield, I'm just gonna with the shield in front of me, just bring my sword along the shield into the bottom of his head. Hopefully, 18.
Definitely hits.
Okay. Just play this. Total of 9 points of damage.
You skewer one of these bite goblins with your sword.
Alright, well, since he's not dead, I'll just, it'll slice it through his skin, and then I'll come back and across his face with the other swing. Yeah, same thing. So, and same damage, nothing.
His jaw slackens and he drops off of you dead on the ground.
And he goes flying off. And meanwhile, I'm sort of from my movement, I'm trying to sort of move in front of in front of the wizard Featherstone, trying to impose myself between him and the rest of these goblins. So I'm just kind of like shifting sideways with the shield being sailed.
Great. Okay, cool. All right, that was Philip. Or no, that was Benson. Now it's Philip. So Philip, you've got the two bark goblins are dropped. Brush took care of them. There's one goblin with the teeth remaining, and the big bulbous goblin is still trying to punch Gabriel.
Okay. Well, since it worked so well last time, he's gonna level the ray of frost at the big bulbous goblin. 18.
Hits.
Awesome. For 9 damage.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, the spell slams into him. Gabriel, you see that familiar ray of frost from Philip come over your shoulder and strike the goblin in front of you dead in the chest. It staggers back a few feet and then just kind of like bolsters itself against the spell and continues walking towards you. All right. Gabriel, you are up.
So, seeing this and that this brutish goblin is directly in front of me, and with Benson kind of maneuvering himself in front of me, I imagine I kind of position myself slightly behind Benson, but like reaching over top of him, like somebody lashing out from behind their bigger friend. And it looks like, a feeble punch, but I'm not trying to punch him so much as just make the contact since he's so close and hit him with that shocking grasp again.
Okay.
So I just kind of leap just a little bit, so I kind of over Benson's shoulder and just Yeah, he makes that sound too. That's a 16, 22 to hit.
22 hits.
So while it's a feeble-looking punch, it does 8 points of lightning damage when it hits him.
Okay. Yeah, you see his skeleton for a moment when you shock him, and you see, this kind of weirdly proportioned goblin skeleton inside this huge, muscly body that you're shocking. All right. That was Gabriel. It's the goblin's turn. The Brawn Goblin sees Benson step in front of the wizard that he thought was going to be an easy kill, and he starts trying to lay into you, Benson, with just punches and kicks, basically. So it swings at you with its fist. You bring your shield up. You feel its fist crack into your shield, and then it kind of follows up with a swift kick and gets you in the knee for 4 bludgeoning damage. You hear kind of your knee doesn't break, but you hear a slight crack as it kind of pops and is painful to put weight on at this point.
My does that every morning.
All right. The remaining bite goblin is actually charging at Brush. It saw Brush take out its 2 comrades, and so it kind of gets low to the ground and charges at him, its jaws gnashing as it does so.
Crates, protect me!
But it kind of leaps at you with its teeth gnashing, and you just kind of sidestep, and it overshoots and lands beside you. All right. That leads us back to you, Brush.
Okay. And this thing is right next to me, right? I'm assuming I'm right up on it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna immediately drop my bow and reach for my the hilt and pull out my sword, which has been snapped in half. And I'm just gonna go for it with this with my good hand, the one that didn't have a big bleeding protrusion coming out of it. So this is a unnatural 20 and a 19.
Okay, both hit.
And that is 10, 16, 16 damage from this sort of a half sword, which can actually see pretty closely resembles Cooper's sword in the light, actually, as I'm hacking away with it.
You actually managed to take out that second bite goblin with your sword attacks. It goes down, hacked to pieces. So the only one remaining is the brawn goblin, who is just sort of raging at this point, muscles bulging, the veins in his neck protruding as he tries to bring down these trespassers. And that brings us to you, Benson.
All right. So realizing that this is has got to end, or we're all gonna die, I just look over my shield, give him my best war face, and I charge at him with my blade, for the honor of my father and grandfather. Math is hard. 16 and oh, that's better. And 25.
Both of them hit.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. So it's 20. One slice up from below, and then flip the sword back down with the sharp end, hopefully.
And as these red gashes appear across the thing's bulbous body, it just kind of and then falls forward like a goblin Incredible Hulk getting taken out, and just falls into the sludge coating the stone. As it falls, you see like a rolled up piece of parchment like sticking out of the back of these like ratty pants that it was wearing. And silence falls upon the entryway once again as you guys deal with the goblins.
The dead goblin?
Yep, they're all dead.
Okay, just clear. Well, since I kind of like with I kind of followed the sword down as he fell and just drove it into him, and just sort of like almost not quite laying on top of him, but like kneeling in front of him with the sword there. And as I pull it out, I notice the paper, and I'll take that out and just kind of hand. I don't even look at it. I'll just kind of sort of hand it on my shoulder to Featherstone.
Yes, I will take it. And is it folded or rolled, or it's on your screen?
So it's just kind of folded up, kind of haphazardly. It's a soggy piece of parchment, and as you unfold it, you see that there's like a crudely drawn map on it, definitely drawn by a goblin or someone with goblin-like intelligence. And seeing as how I drew this map in real life, I'm telling you guys I have goblin-like intelligence. So.
I was just gonna say, actually, that's a pretty good map. I actually goblins to draw some maps because it's pretty neat.
Well, don't give me too much credit. Tim made it look pretty, so. But what you see on the map.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, go ahead, Alex.
I was like, if you put any kind of line drawing on a piece of parchment, like in Photoshop, it makes it look awesome.
Oh man, it makes it like 300% really better. Is. Exactly. It's like, oh man, yeah, that looks pretty good.
Right, it's amazing.
So, what you see on this
Sorry.
map as you unfold it, Gabriel, is you kind of inspect it for a few seconds, looking it over, and you see. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. Can you guys see my cursor on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
This room right here kind of matches the room that you guys are in right now. The channel kind of runs down the middle, comes
okay.
out through this pipe, and you can see the hallways kind of branching off. So you immediately find the "you are here" basically in this map, and you see a few different symbols. The first is a snowflake down here. The second, it looks like a tentacle holding a sword up here.
I'm not.
There's a
I'm not keen on the tentacle. Sorry.
there's a big kind of crude question mark down here, and then kind of like a spirally pattern over here. So to the north you've got the tentacle, the south you've got the question mark and the snowflake, and far to the west you have this spiraling pattern.
Okay. Yeah. Over my shoulder, I say, what is it, Featherstone?
Well, it would appear to be a map of where we are. We seem to have a number of options for where we can go. This is rather crudely drawn, but if we go this way, I'm guessing something along the lines of an octopus that wants to fence. Snowflake to this direction. Ooh, a question mark. That's a mystery. And I
You're a
don't
real
know
wizard.
what this is here. So it's really anybody's guess. I would have to say I like a good mystery as well as the next fellow, and I vote for the question mark. And then I kind of look around expectantly at everyone else.
I don't necessarily, but perhaps to. I also don't like leaving strange passages at our back. I would suggest going to the west. I'm sorry. Which way? I'm not sure which the orientation of this map is.
So it's north up, or south down. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So I kind of look for the map. I say, if we decide to go to the room with the mystery, as you say, I shouldn't like to leave the other room at our back.
Well, I can't
Perhaps
say
we
that I
could,
disagree with your logic.
Perhaps we can send one person to sort of take a look. If they can be quiet enough. Gonna look around and see if anyone is volunteering.
Gabriel's doing the same thing.
Philip's kind of popping his fingernails on his chest and sort of ignoring you. He doesn't want that at all.
Well, yes. Then I suggest you all wait here. I won't go far. I'll just go down a bit and take a look.
Which passage are you going down?
It seems the snowflake.
How suitable to you?
Scream if you need anything.
What was that? If I should come back this way quickly, be prepared for anything. I'll warn you ahead of time. So, I will. I'm gonna dispel the light on my pommel for now. Because you said this sludge sort of has its own inherent light, right?
It does, yeah, and you can see well enough. You can't make out like fine
Okay.
details or anything like that, but it's enough to find your
Right.
way through these tunnels.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm going more for stealth, so I just extinguish it, and I keep my sword and shield out. But I'm gonna sort of hug the wall without touching it that way, because I really wanted to slow down me.
Okay, so you head to the south a ways. You travel through a series of weathered stone pipes, heading south. The pipes are slippery and cramped, and you find yourself having to kind of crawl or slide your way through a few of the slimmer tunnels, Benson. But eventually you emerge from these kind of dripping conduits, and you find yourself in kind of a crumbling corridor. The stench of goblin is unmistakable here.
Okay.
And you see there are kind of like piles of stone and debris and refuse kind of in every corner of this crumbling stone corridor.
Okay. I'll use that for cover as much as possible as I sort of move forward to see what's down here. And again, I'm being over cautious, but I'm moving quietly listening, since I'm kind of alone in this.
As you continue to move down the corridor, moving quietly, you sort of catch movement out of the corner of your eye, and as you look towards it, you see that something kind of shifted in one of the piles of stone and debris, and you see kind of like a brown, barky sort of texture in some of these piles, and you recognize the skin of those bark goblins that were firing arrows at you back in the main entryway. They look like they're concealed in the piles, waiting for ambush.
All right. In that case, I'll just stop, and realizing I don't want to take this on alone, I'll kind of back away slowly, not turning my back to the room, but just sort of like working my way back through with the shield up and my sword in position, and go back out to the main room.
Okay.
Say, as I emerge, more goblins, and I kind of gesture with my sword to the bark skin ones. Those. I don't relish leaving them in our backs. We move on. It's how quickly they moved in when we made noise.
You said you saw more of those barkskin goblins down there, huh? That's
Indeed. Yes.
weird. How did a goblin end up looking like that anyway, I wonder?
Well, if the creature we've heard about is to be believed, then I suppose anything is possible. And as I do that, I kind of, absentmindedly rub where the acid has sort of burned my face and feel the little bumps.
I agree with Cooper. I don't really want those things in our back. Especially since Cooper's usually in front.
Agreed.
Master Featherstone, do you have any fire that might envelop them all?
He looks thoughtful for a second, and he kind of starts muttering, "Oh, well, there's a scorching ray, and there's a firebolt, but that's not going to get all of them. Perhaps burning hands. Yes. Yeah, that's... Okay, here we go. Sorry, that was me trying to stall while I looked up this spell. And he goes, well, how close together are they?
They're spread out. They're behind debris, stones, rocks, fallen bits of wall, things like that.
Did you get a good count?
Is it an enclosed area? What's that?
Did you get a good count of them?
Afraid not. They were concealed for ambush. More than two, certainly. I would say at least.
Philip,
maybe more.
Yes.
do you by chance have a scorching ray spell prepared?
I don't, but I do happen to have a fireball.
So here's what I would suggest then. We don't know how many there are. I could go in there with a scorching ray, which will allow me to hit 3 of them. I imagine once the scorching ray starts going off, the rest of them will see their advantage and attempt to come out, upon which you could burn them with fire. More fire, as it were.
Sounds like a pretty good plan to me.
It seems that it's close. So if you were to project your fireball into the into the corridor, and we were to step aside, we might be able to get them without having to go in ourselves.
Yeah, the farther away from those things we stay, the better it sounds to me.
How far can your fire spell reach? I think it's 150 feet.
Yeah, 150 feet.
Yeah, I'm looking up the scorching ray distance. I've got 120 on scorching ray.
And as these guys are discussing all these technical details, Brush is just sitting there hitting his head against the wall like, wizards. Like a kid that's really bored at a supermarket, like, come on, I want to kill something.
Can we go? Are we there yet? Can we go home?
I think it might actually, Gabriel. I think it might work best if I throw the fireball in there and then you shoot whatever's left.
I concur. And I just kind of go like this and start the little bit of spark.
I say to to poor bored Brandon, perhaps you should step aside before the fire guts out and incinerates us all.
They just do like a really disingenuous, almost a curtsy, like.
See what happens if you try to help people.
Oh, I was covering one whole section of my spell sheet, like a whole other set of spells I forgot about. Lord. What was that you said earlier? Are you sure I'm a wizard?
Yeah, I was going to say you absent-minded wizards.
Yes. All of a sudden, he kind of looks through his spell book. He looks through his spell book and he's like, oh, "Wait, there's more pages here."
She falls out of the middle of it. Oh yeah.
Did I mention this is the first wizard I've played?
It's not obvious at all, Jake. Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. All right.
Dust thou pages, stick it together.
This is the first fighter played in years. I hear you. I feel your pain. I usually play bards. So,
All right, so this changes the game a little bit because I can shoot a massive lightning bolt through there too. I also have a fireball. I do not have time stop.
Oh, okay.
But I can. I mean, we could double team with the firebolt.
Yeah.
Why don't we stick with the plan? I've got 3 options up my sleeve. We'll see what Philip does, what he draws out of the sewage, as it were.
Yeah. 2 fireballs should do it.
All right.
All right. So I'm just gonna step to the off to the side of this passage, so I don't get incinerated when the inevitable wave of fire comes gutting out of this tunnel.
Yeah, and you'll have to travel down the tunnel a little ways just because of the winding nature of it. So you won't get a clear shot unless you travel a little bit further down it. But
yeah, when we get to where Benson shows, hey, the goblins were in here, Philip will start kind of muttering under his breath and holding his hands together, and a ball of fire will start to kind of form between his palms. He's got some bat guano and some sulfur that he's kind of mixed together in there and sprinkled on his hands, kind of rubbed them together, and started kind of muttering his incantations under his breath. And he kind of looks to everybody and to make sure that everybody's ready to take cover. And he kind of puts his shoulder up against the entrance and kind of peeks around the side and will launch his fireball just kind of in the center of the room.
So you come around the corner, you have a clear line of sight into this room, and it's as Benson described. You see the piles of rubble and stone, but instead of seeing goblins laying wait in ambush, you see a score of goblins standing there with bows trained on the hallway as you come around the corner, and you see behind the goblins a massive creature. You would recognize it pretty readily as a bugbear, but there's some oddities about it, as is everything here in the sewers under Sandwall. I can pull up a picture here so you can see. Maybe it's loading. Come on, internet. Work with me here. There we go. This bugbear has stark white fur and kind of beady red eyes, like as if it's an albino. But the strangest thing about it is the bulbous brain that is stretching against the skin of its head. His brain has grown to like twice the size of his head. You can see the details of it, and he's standing there. And you can see he's holding this this double-bladed sword. And as you come around the corner, spell in your hand, you see this. The bugbear speaks, and it speaks eloquently, much to your surprise. And it says, "Stand down. I wish to talk. If you are looking for a fight, then a fight you shall have. What say you?"
In the other room, you hear, "Peace negotiations, come on."
Well, Philip kind of hesitates.
I kind of look around at the others to try and gauge their take on the situation. Brain exposed bugbear. I don't want to talk to him. So I'll take a quick look at Featherstone.
Featherstone is completely just looking this bugbear up and down, and he's just fascinated. And he actually steps forward, and he kind of stutters for a minute. He's well, yes, of course. We would absolutely love to speak with you, right? And he kind of motions to Philip, who's formulating this spell in his hands, to kind of away with that.
I don't like it. I whisper to Philip. I say, burn it.
And Philip looks at all the other goblins. How many goblins are there with bows trained on us?
There's probably close to a dozen, if not more.
Philip looks at all those and looks at the brainy bugbear and looks back and forth between everybody, and he's like, don't really want to become a pincushion at this point. Suppose if they won't kill us outright, maybe he has something important to say.
What?
He keeps the back on with sulfur on his palms and just kind of puts them behind his back. And he's ready to cast if he needs to, but he's ready to throw a fireball if anything happens. And if there's any aggressive activity on the goblin's part.
Gotcha. You've got your finger on the trigger of the fireball. I gotcha.
Yep. And kind of steps back a little bit and kind of looks at Gabriel. He says, why don't you go ahead? I'm not the best with people or goblins.
Very well. What? Good, sir. What do you call yourself?
I'm called Snowhide.
It's absolutely a pleasure to meet you. I am Gabriel Algernon Featherstone of the Arcanus Collegium at your service.
So many names for such a small person. How strange.
Yes, I suppose our customs are strange to, well, you.
As you're speaking, Gabriel, Snowhide kind of puts out a big meaty paw and kind of ushers for his goblins to lower their bows. They loose the strings on their bows. They keep the arrows knocked, but they're not drawing back on you anymore. And Snowhide kind of is looking you all over and says,
What business do you have in the sewers?
Well, I'll step forward at this point. We've been conscripted to deal with a problem that the town is experiencing: poisonings, death, toxins pouring from these sewers. What have you to say about that?
Sandwall?
Indeed.
I am familiar with it. It is unfortunate that the vile pollution here in the sewers is also affecting beyond our tunnels and corridors. If you are here to fix the problem, I know the source of it, and I can help you if you are willing to help me.
Flexibly, without even thinking about it, says, "But you're a bugbear."
Indeed, I am a bugbear, and yet I am something more, as you can see. I have been made different by the pollution here in the sewers under Sandwall.
Why do you have any concern for the people of Sandwall?
I have very little concern for the people of Sandwall, but it just so happens that their problems coincide with my problems. The source is one and the same. Come, will you sit and speak with me. I have chairs.
As a guard, I'm sure I'm accustomed to people lying to me. So I'm as he's speaking, I'm sort of narrowing my eyes and sort of watching him for any sign of lie to see if he's telling the truth, at least as he knows it.
Yeah, go ahead and give me an insight check.
Not terribly great. 14.
Even though your experience in trying to figure out if a bugbear is lying is limited, he does seem to be genuine in what he's saying. But you definitely pick up that he's gonna be wanting something from you guys. His motivation is not coming from a place of selflessness.
Okay. That's it. I'm going to talk to you, but know that the Sandwall is our prime concern. If we can help you in the process, in the course of that, so be it. But Sandwall is our main concern. I'm sure you understand looking out for your own people as you do.
Yes, my tribe is my main concern. I understand completely. Now, come, we shall talk somewhere more private. This way.
And he kind of turns and walks down the corridor, taking up the entirety of the corridor with his immense size. The goblins part, making a clear path for you to follow him. And he kind of says, come this way.
I follow without hesitation.
I hesitate momentarily and sigh, and I kind of turn to Philip and say, "Keep your bad shit, Andy." And I'll follow on.
Philip nods, and he's walking by, kind of leaning back. He'll be a goblin looking at him. He'll look at him that way, and then he'll bump another one next to him and kind of jump this way and kind of walk behind everybody. Just still has his hands kind of clasped together. He's kind of rubbing them, just sort of nervously, and he makes his way after Benson and Gabriel.
And Brush, what about you? Do you follow along?
Yeah, I just kind of, again, taking my place in the rear. And as we're passing through this entourage of goblins, I just kind of reach into my pocket and take out the beat and hand it to one of the goblins like he's a valet or something. So yeah, to go spending all that in one place now.
The goblin kind of takes the beat and sniffs it, bleh, makes a disgusted face. All of these goblins that you're passing by, most of them have those same mutations that you saw in the entryway. Some of them are huge and bulbous. Others have bark-like skin. There are some that have those oversized teeth. Snowhide leads you a short walk down the winding passageway. You pass more armed goblins. His lair, as you enter, is kind of a spherical room with kind of water dripping in the corners down the walls. It's a cross between like a makeshift study and the den of a predator. There's piles of books and scrolls laying next to a straw bed, and there's kind of like smatterings of goblinoid scat kind of here and there. There are bits and pieces of shiny refuse, coins, goblets, things like that, sitting on surfaces displayed like relics, like important artifacts, beside rusted weapons and junky pieces of armor. There's a makeshift desk that's little more than a board kind of balanced on two barrels, and it's scattered with parchment. And if any of you kind of pass by this desk as you enter, you see that it looks like Snowhide has been trying his hand at writing, and it looks like what he's been doing is dipping his claws in ink and using those to write, which may explain the map that you guys currently have in your possession. He kind of moves to the far side of the room and takes a seat, dropping his massive weight into kind of a makeshift throne that has been constructed of junk and bricks that have been pulled from the wall. He kind of rummages around as you all kind of situate yourselves in the room, and you see he pulls out a pair of tiny wire-rimmed spectacles, and one of the lenses is cracked, and he puts them over his eyes and just barely gets the arms of the glasses over his massive bat-like ears, and he pulls the glasses down to the edge of his nose, rummages again, and pulls out a book. And this book is kind of it's worn, the pages are kind of falling out of it, and he covers up the cover with his clawed, huge paw, and he holds it up with his glasses on, looking at it, and he says, "Before we talk, I would like to ask you 2 questions. I am curious sort, and I am still learning. I'm very curious to see how you will answer these questions. This is a book written by the hand of man. It is a book that has been very interesting for me to read. My first question for you 4 is, what is your favorite book?"
I sort of look at Featherstone, who obviously has more experience with books than I. I read every night. I read a book of fairy tales to my children. Suppose that would be my favorite.
He kind of looks to Philip. "And you?"
Philip kind of pondering, like, I can't say as though I've ever been all that fond of reading, but well, there was one book of evocation spells that I did actually rather enjoy at the Collegium.
A spellcaster then, yes. I see.
He looks at Brush.
"And you? What is your favorite book?"
And Brush kind of contemplates it for a moment, and he says, "There's a book I saw many years ago that talked about faraway places and wonders that I'll never see with my own eyes, that some that don't even exist anymore. It's my most fondest memory, leafing through that book before it was lost."
He kind of eyes you curiously over the edge of his spectacles. Then he looks at Gabriel.
Yes, it can be difficult to choose a favorite amongst so many wonderful books, but I have to say that I am fond of a recent tome of studies, I guess, and stories from a gnome named Pharaoh called The Rise and Fall of the Khazaran Empire.
Very interesting. I too am delving into history that far predates my own existence. It is quite interesting.
He holds the book up, and he kind of moves his paw so you can see the cover of the book. And you see the title is Ending the Goblin Scourge. And he says,
I have just finished reading this particular tome.
And you hear the goblins at your back kind of shift uncomfortably as he shows the cover. A few of them kind of hiss and grumble amongst themselves. He says,
the drawings in this book are very detailed. The writing is thorough. It has shown me a new perspective, one that I did not see clearly before my awakening. An entire book on enslaving and eradicating my people, written by man. Look here, a chapter.
He's flipping through it, showing you pictures like he's reading you a picture book and your kids, showing you these pictures of people decapitating goblins, burning them.
Look here, a chapter on how to purge a goblin lair, fitting as you are in my lair now. My second question is, what do you think of this particular book?
And Philip kind of, as he's looking through, he's kind of nods appreciatively at some of the, as he's flipping through and showing it to us, so, nods appreciatively at some of the illustrations, like, oh, wow, it's well done and all that kind of stuff. But when he's done, he asks, he holds his hand out. May I see it? I haven't actually read this particular volume.
Of course you may read it.
And he leans forward and hands it to you and says,
but I wouldn't get any ideas from it if I were you.
Oh, no, of course not. Looks nervously back at all the goblins behind him and back up at the bugbear. No, I was purely academic, of course.
Of course.
Benson is slightly abashed for, thinking about it. Then he sort of turns on him and says, "And what stories do you tell about our people?"
Good question. Well, I've heard many tales of civilized lands. Mostly from my former master, who has lived among you. He did not speak highly of cities and towns, but I wish to see them. I wish to walk your cobbled streets, eat your fine food, read your abundant, near infinite books in your libraries. I wish to see it for myself before I tell any tales.
Do you know how we achieve that order?
How is that?
That level of sophistication? Through discipline, through acknowledging the differences in others, through the obeying of basic laws that we all must abide by. Is that something you and your people can do? We've been told otherwise.
It is something I am learning to understand, though it does not come naturally to one of my kind. You understand, I'm sure. Just as living in a sewer does not come naturally to yours.
So, perhaps we both have much to learn.
Perhaps we do.
He seems satisfied with that answer and kind of sits back in his throne.
Now, we may talk of things here in the sewers. You have told me that you are here to deal with the pollution, the taint that is running through the water here in the sewers, that it is affecting the village of Sandwall. I know from where this pollution is originating, and I know who is making it worse. And this is where our problems coincide. Are you familiar with the name Slimy Jack?
And Benson, you would probably have heard that name before, just being involved in law enforcement.
Sure.
Anyone else who's been in this area for any considerable amount of time would have maybe heard the name here and there. It's a fairly infamous bandit who operates in this area.
Okay. Yes. Bring in ban some sort or other. It's not become something of legend as of late. Though my father spoke much of him.
Slimy Jack lives here in the sewers. He was my master for some time. Prior to my awakening, I served him quite loyally. He sought to take advantage of the pollution here in the sewers. He began to conduct experiments.
And the goblins behind you shift uncomfortably again. Some of them kind of hiss and growl at each other as Snowhide recounts the tale.
He began.
When he says that, I give Featherstone a look with experiments.
He began dipping us into the polluted waters, forcing us to drink it, trying different torturous methods of enhancing our strength and stamina and speed and intelligence. He worked for months achieving this.
And he kind of touches his bulbous brain.
I kind of wince when he does that. That doesn't look good.
He says,
Once he allowed me to awaken, I took it upon myself to forge a new path for myself and my people. We did not deserve to serve someone as vile as Slimy Jack. I rebelled against him, attempted to take his throne here in the sewers. I chopped off his arm, but I couldn't kill him. There were still too many goblins loyal to Slimy Jack, and they forced us from our home, and now we squat here in some slimy corner of these crumbling, polluted sewers, waiting for the day when we can have our revenge on our former master and free our enslaved family who still serve him. If you wish to put an end to the pollution here in the sewers, there's no one better to confront than Slimy Jack.
I nod. I say, and what do you know of this shark man that descended upon the town?
He sighs and kind of leans back in the throne, looking to a few of his goblins nearby.
The man-shark creatures. I remember them from my time deeper in the sewers where we were being mutated. I know very little about it.
I don't mean to interrupt, but if you could back up a moment. Creature Z. There was an S at the end of that.
There are several.
Oh dear.
I know very little about them other than they too are a result of the properties of the water here.
What is this slimy Jack's goal? Or does he have one? Is he a madman?
He intends to, well, as far as I know, he intends to weaponize the pollution, bottle it, use it as weapons for his goblins, further mutate them and create an unstoppable force of magically enhanced goblinoids. He is a bandit.
At the mention of bottling and weaponizing, Featherstone looks uncomfortably at Benson.
An unstoppable force, you say? Well, at least we've got an immovable object. Now I'd clasp Cooper on the back a little bit. Oh, right.
I wish with acid burn in his I say, and should this slime be slain,
I am sure of it.
What would become goblins? Think
Slimy
they would rally to you?
Slimy Jack is just a man. He can be killed, though he is quite tenacious. The goblins that still serve him are deluded, blinded. They have not yet been awakened as we have been. If they will desert him, then I shall embrace them. But if they choose to fight by his side, then they are no better.
Well, that is the point then. So where is this slimy Jack that we may end him?
He is to the north, the other side of the sewers. He's holed up there in a great banquet hall of his own design. He will try and feed you. I advise you do not try his food. He fancies himself a chef.
I assure you I had no intention of eating any food in this place.
Yeah. In fact, my appetite's pretty much gone at this point, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you certainly don't feel like eating anything. Snowhide says,
There are many unexplainable things in these sewers, especially as of late. I do not advise that you stray from your path. There are many dark corners and unseen horrors that lurk within.
And what would be your part in this adventure?
Well,
Would you and your people be willing to watch our backs?
yes. Yes, I believe we would. I can arrange for a full brace of goblins to guard your coming as you move towards the north, and ensure that no enemies will follow you.
I glance around my companions as they say, But we talk in private. This is a great decision we must make.
Of course. One last thing I shall say before you discuss it among yourselves. It is imperative that it is you four that approach Slimy Jack. If you were to see me or any of my goblins coming, he would be unreachable. But for strangers from the surface world, he will not be able to help himself but entertain you. He loves guests. You may have the room.
Snowhide lifts himself off the throne.
Come.
He ushers his goblins out and then closes the door behind him, leaving you alone in his study. Now, we're going to take a quick break here, just a few minutes so we can use the bathroom and whatnot, and then we will come back and continue. Sure. So, everyone, thank you for tuning in and watching. Please stick around. We will be right back. Okay, let's check the chat here while we're on break. Let's see here. Governor Snowhide of the Sewers, that's right. Cool, we got about 25 people watching. That's pretty awesome. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And it looks like everyone is back. So we'll go ahead and jump back into it here. So you guys, the four of you are alone in Snowhide's study. He has closed the door behind him and allowed you guys some privacy to talk amongst yourselves.
Brush is just going to plop himself right on the throne, like sideways, like relaxing like a cat, like thought he could never leave.
I was going to mention. Don't let it go to your head. So what are your thoughts? You've heard mine.
I just think it's odd that Slimy Jack hangs out in the sewer if he likes to entertain guests.
Well, then Jack, I mean, where else would one entertain guests, I suppose?
I can't help but
Do
empathize.
I was going to ask, do I know anything else about Slimy Jack other than just that he was a bandit?
You know that he's been involved with several different gangs, and that he has a fondness for goblins because they're easy to organize and order around and cheap to pay. So he definitely has a reputation for being something of a goblin king, for lack of a better phrase.
Okay. So in that case, I'll say, well, I don't know a lot about this Slimy Jack, though he does have a fondness for goblins and using them as his pawns.
I can't help but
I suppose-
empathize with Snowhide and these awakened goblins, as it were. And Gabriel's kind of worked his way over to where this writing desk was. And as he's talking, he just kind of pulls a quill out of a satchel and places it next to the inkwell and the paper and leaves it there.
I empathize with him as well. Being of a sewer rat myself. And I fashion a makeshift crown out of like garbage and try to put it on my head. Kind of falls.
I mean, I'm not above experimentation, and until today, I would perhaps have not given that book a second thought. But I would never experiment on sentient creatures. I find that reprehensible, and for that alone, I have a dark spot in my heart for Slimy Jack.
I think the experimentation on any living creature is abhorrent. I've seen beasts mistreated. And if you think they have not feelings like we do, then, well, we must disagree on that. But Slimy Jack is the problem here. I'm having trouble, I must admit, accepting goblins and bugbears, well, temporary allies. I thought
you liked the fairy tales. What about the moral of the lesser of two evils?
Well, I grew up on these stories myself, although the goblins and bugbears tend to be the villains of the stories. They were to be slain or driven off or boiled in oil. Our stories did tend to have them as friends or advisors. I'm at a loss. I know. I have a trusting them in our backs.
Well, we can be
I'd rather have
for
it.
sure.
I'd rather have a potential enemy that we know at our back than unknown enemies by unknown numbers.
I don't disagree.
I'd very much like
We
to
could
meet
end
this.
up in the trap. Oh, we'll meet him. We could be falling into a trap, though. We need to be aware of that. The reason that others have not returned in this place.
Okay, if there's enemies all
always
around
the-
us, we can't miss.
There's always the fireballs that Philip and I had at the ready for these goblins. Perhaps we shall redirect them to Slimy Jack.
And Philip's spending this whole time everybody else is talking, just kind of flipping through the book of, the book that Snowhide gave him. And he's kind of making faces occasionally, and like shudders a couple of times, and kind of towards the end of the conversation, he slowly closes it, and kind of sets it off to the side. And he's got this kind of sober look in his face, maybe a little more sober than you've seen him since this kind of thing began. Well, I certainly didn't think I'd ever find myself on the side of goblins or a bugbear either, Benson, but I think this guy might actually be telling the truth.
But how do we know?
I don't suppose it makes much difference if we're wrong, but I cast my vote for helping them.
I reach into my shirt and I pull out a small locket. And I sort of open it up and I kind of stare at it for some time, and snapping it shut. So, yeah. Well, whatever the cost, the poison from this place needs to stop. One way or another, we must confront this Slimy Jack, find out if he's the source of all this.
I would have put my hand on my hilt and say, "Hey, we're heroes, right? Heroes never die."
I think that's heroes never say die. Or was that Goonies?
There's a
Well,
small knock on the door.
Crumb.
Tunk, tunk, tunk. The door opens, and the bulbous-brained head of Snowhide peeks in.
Have you had sufficient time to discuss?
I scramble to get off the throne. I'm like, it was a little crooked. A little crooked.
Swipes the fake crown. So, yeah, we have, and we'll go after the Slimy Jack. And if you're willing, we'll accept your guard at our back.
Very good. Very good. I also need you to know, because you are helping us, and because you are here on behalf of the village of Sandwall, you have my word, such as it is, that me and my people will never harm or set foot in the village of Sandwall. We intend to carve our own path elsewhere.
Well, perhaps there will come a day when our peoples will not be as at odds, and maybe this is a step toward that.
A day when you no longer write books about purging goblin layers, and we no longer have recipes for the best way to cook a man alive.
Sounds like a good day to strive toward.
Indeed.
I kind of listen to the lump of my lunch comes up my throat, which I managed to push back down. Yes. Well.
Very well then.
Should perhaps we'll if there's a place we might take a bit of time to prepare ourselves. We've taken some injury, and we do well to get ready.
Of course, you may have the use of my study. I am afraid I don't have much to offer in the way of food and drink, but you may rest here as long as you wish. I am in no rush.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he kind of just nods to you all and leaves the room again, allowing you free reign to rest in there if you wish.
Yeah. So I'm not going to speak anymore. I'm just going to a corner with a relatively clean rock to kind of sit down on. I'm going to take out a pouch, open up a little a tin of salve, and begin sort of like dabbing it on the wound on my face, and I eat a bit of bread and cheese and some smoked meat that I have wrapped in cloth as I sit and sort of think my own thoughts. And use hit dice.
Philip's going to sit around, kind of maybe sit next to the throne and lean his back against it and munch on some sardines that he's got in a jar for a little while and kind of sit with his own thoughts as well.
I think Brushes takes his blade back out of the sheath and he's wiping the goblin blood off of it, making sure it's not corroding the blade, which, even despite it being snapped in half, seems to be in pretty good condition otherwise.
Gabriel just kind of sits down at the desk and just kind of looks around a little bit at some of the scrolls and books there, and will thumb through his spell book looking at that extra couple pages of spells to make sure he knows that he's got everything prepared for the potential coming battles. And during that time also use a hit die.
During the time where we're sitting and resting, you might see Philip holding like a small mirror or something, look at his teeth and kind of try to scrub the purple off.
And it's just not coming off. It's like shellacked on there. Like, you just scrub and scrub and it's not even fading.
Apparently heroes do die.
Oh!
You have reached your pun quota for tonight, Carl.
Alright.
I'm cutting you off. You've got enough.
I'm telling you, do the random damage thing.
So, you all kind of take some time and rest up, bandaging up your wounds, eating a little food, drinking a little water, non-polluted water, and
Yeah.
generally recuperating from the battles that you've been facing. Whenever you're ready to move on, you let me know, and Snowhide will hook you up with some goblins to watch your back.
Yeah. So basically, Cooper, as soon as he's rested, he'll kind of look at everyone else, get up and poke his head out the door. Say, I think we're ready. To whatever goblin is listening.
And the goblin outside of the door kind of scampers away, and soon enough, Snowhide shows up, and he says,
Good. Very well, I will send 6 of my finest warriors with you. They will ensure that your retreat is covered should you need it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I look at him, but I try not to look at his head. My eyes keep flicking up to his.
yeah. And he's like, my eyes are down here, dude. Come on.
Are those real?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all natural, baby. This is mutated.
Yeah. So, yeah. As soon as everyone's ready, I'll just kind of make sure my shield is comfortable on my arm. Shake my sword arm, and give the shield, give the sword a good clank against the shield. Take a breath and start heading out.
All right. Any other preparations that you guys want to make before you follow Benson?
Nope. No, Philip would just fall in line with much less ceremony than Benson. Just, walking along behind him, kind of shaking his head.
Yeah, the 4 of you set out, and you're trailed by 6 goblins. A couple of the brawn goblins, a couple of bark goblins, and a couple of bite goblins. All of them sort of shuffling nervously behind you, not used to allying themselves with civilized folk. They kind of mutter amongst themselves in their goblin tongue, but are generally quiet and keep to themselves.
As we're walking along, Philip would turn around to maybe one of the brawn goblins and stick his hand out and, Philip von Wincliffe? Try to introduce himself.
The goblin kind of looks at the hand and kind of like leans forward and smells your hand and kind of like nods to you like, yeah, it smells pretty good.
Pull it back and kind of, okay.
You could smell like that too if you washed your hands after wiping.
Oh.
Hey, one step at a time with these goblins, man.
Right.
So soon enough, you return to the main passageway where you entered the sewers, and I assume you head north in the direction of Slimy Jack's grotto, pointed out on the map by the tentacle holding the sword. The goblins stay behind at the mouth of this passageway and stand there, standing guard as you move further into the sewers. You wind your way through the maze-like tunnels, and you eventually find yourself in a long, narrow passageway. Its walls slick with grime, and there's garbage and refuse sort of collecting in these corners and alcoves, sort of off to either side of the hallway. And again, the sour stench of goblin is unmistakable. At the end of this passageway, you see that there's kind of like a patchwork fortification pieced together from junk and garbage, rusted shields, wooden pallets, barrels, and stationed behind this fortification are several goblins who are wielding short bows, and you see that there's a large iron door shut behind them, emblazoned with that sigil that you saw on the map, the tentacle gripping the sword.
The door itself, does it seem to be like have a lock in it, or is it a pull handle, or?
Looks like it's a pull handle, yeah.
Okay. So staying in the lead as is my my position. I'll go up and, holding the shield up, I'll pull on the handle and open the door. Just a bit at first, a couple inches to see what's beyond it, but then further, nothing is dangerous.
So as you approach the door, the goblins in the fortification kind of draw arrows and knock them back, and speak out in their guttural voices. They say, "Stop right there! What business do you have with King Slimy Jack?"
We heard he was a good chef, and we were here to sample some of his delicacies.
Give me a charisma check. Any charisma-based skill there, Philip.
That's a horrible idea. Holy shit, I rolled a natural 20.
You guys in your 20s, man. Oh my god.
I've got -1 to charisma, so that's a good thing.
The goblin who spoke up kind of looks to his cohorts, lowers his bow a little bit, and says, "You have? He'll be happy to hear that. Okay, come on, put your weapons away,
I don't trust myself to bluff, so I just sort of nod, like. and I'll put my sword in, but I'll slide in like this, and but I'm gonna keep my hand on it.
Right.
Philip will lean
and
over
the sword will just kind of stay on my arm.
Philip will lean over to Benson while he's doing that. That was lucky.
We'll decide that after we tackle the food.
Well then, come in, and the goblins kind of make a path in the fortification for you, leading you to the heavy iron door, and they open it up, allowing you to step through. What you see in front of you is a large chamber that is kind of like a grotesque mockery of nobility. It's like someone trying to seem fancier than they are. There's dirty, tattered tapestries hanging from every wall. There are barrels and moldy planks serving as makeshift furniture, and you see these kind of like rusted candelabras here and there sputtering with flame and the noxious air. The most prominent thing in the room is Slimy Jack's throne. It's little more than a pile of scrap, very similar to what Snowhide was sitting in. But there's two waterfalls of sickly green sewer water, that same glowing water that you guys have seen, kind of cascading down on either side of the throne. It's there are dozens of goblins in here, all watching you with their hands on their weapons as you enter. And the decor of this place is really kind of a reflection of its chief denizen, Slimy Jack, who is draped dramatically over his throne, one leg kind of on the arm, sort of hanging over the back of it, and you see that he has kind of elaborate spiked up hair and a ridiculous outfit. I'll show you a picture here. There it is. The clothes that he's wearing look like they may have been nice at one point, but they're kind of tattered and dirty. There's a wicked-looking rapier hanging from his belt, and probably the most prominent thing about him is the fact that he, as Snowhide said, he's missing an arm, but it's been replaced by a slimy, writhing tentacle, just sort of sticking out of the stump where his arm used to be. You also see that.
Story.
Yeah. You also see that his ears are slightly pointed, which may point to some elven heritage of some kind. So he draped dramatically over this throne. He greets you all. Hello, hello. Welcome to my grotto, strangers. What brings you to Slimy Jack's grotto?
I open my mouth to speak, and I don't. And I turn to Philip.
Your reputation precedes you.
Does it now? Tell me, what have you heard about me?
You fancy yourself a bit of a experimenter with culinary delights.
Ah, so you've heard of my dinner parties here in the sewers, and you've come to taste the delicacies. That's great. That's great to hear, man. I'm glad to have you. But you all know my name, but I don't know yours. Who are you? Where do you come from?
I am Gabriel he can't seem to get the words out. He's just stuttering over himself.
I'll kind of step in, fill the gap, and I'll say, Benson Cooper. This is Master Gabriel Featherstone, Wizard Extraordinaire. I gesture to Philip von Windcliffe and the astonishing Brandon Bowers.
And I would like my mohawk, I would kind of slick it up a little bit, and be like, "Name's Brush." I think you can tell why, and you can kind of see from the angle. It looks like a paintbrush just sticking straight out of my head.
He kind of he looks at one of his goblins and points to you, Brush, and says, "It's 'cause his hair looks like a brush. Do you get it? Don't worry about it." So you all have come all the way down here to taste the food, enjoy the wine and the company. Is that right? I have a hard time believing that, as it's the first time it's ever happened, man.
Yes, we want to eat your stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I look back at Philip.
Well then.
We hear it's good stuff.
Now, who did you hear that from, Benson Cooper?
Well, I don't recall.
You don't recall?
Forgive him. He's a little slow. Words kind of, you know, you and me, we come from what you would call the underground, and you know how word gets around in dark places. We've heard great things about this. Even 4, 5 stars even.
5 stars. We'll have to see about that, man. Well then, I think I have some things prepared that we could eat and talk, and you could tell me all about what's going on topside. It's been so long since I've been up there. All right, now let's prepare a feast, boys. Bring out what we have in the storehouses for these 4 fine gentlemen. Now, if you would take your seats, please, boys, we can catch up.
And these goblins kind of come forward with rickety chairs and sit them in front of you, and they bring out some barrels and balance a big wooden plank on top of it, creating this kind of long banquet table. And Slimy Jack steps down off of his throne, his tentacle writhing at his side, and he sort of comes down the stairs of his throne very dramatically, one boot at a time, walking sideways towards you, looking down on the 4 of you, and he says,
Seems odd that it seems odd that you 4 would come all the way down here for food, but if what you say is true, then I hope the feast lives up to your expectations.
he sits down at the head of the table.
Please, be seated. Kick off your
I'll
boots
sit
if you
down.
desire. Relax.
Yeah. On the rickety chair, but I'm not taking my boots off. Well, sir, you have something of the right of it. Our curiosity about your food was only part of the reason we're here. We have, well, some questions, if you're keen to answer them.
Questions? Oh, very well. Well, we can eat and talk.
A few goblins come out carrying platters of food, and all of your senses are assaulted by the food that's coming out. You see they put goblets in front of you with a very oily, strong-smelling alcoholic drink in front of you that looks a little too thick. It doesn't look like it's thin enough to be drank enjoyably. They also put down a platter of what looks like flank of rat that is kind of somehow burned and bloody rare at the same time. Like the exterior looks like it was cooked in a grease fire for like a couple seconds and then cut up and served on the plate. You see what look like fingers, green fingers that have been lightly breaded and fried. You probably recognize these as goblin fingers, and giant blue sewer mushrooms that have been sautéed and dumped into a bowl. They set all of this food out in front of you, and the smells kind of waft into your nostrils. Slimy Jack immediately starts plating himself a little bit of everything, and then he produces a tiny, dainty little silver fork that he holds with his tentacle, and he starts poking the food with his fork and bringing it to his mouth with his tentacle. And he says,
Now, enjoy the food and ask away. I love to talk over dinner.
Good. I look down at my plate, my brow furrowed. Say, we had heard that you lost your arm, but we hadn't heard about its replacement.
Oh, this...
How did that come about?
Well, that's what happens when someone chops off your arm and then tosses you into a channel of polluted sewer water, man. Things like this. Can't say I hate it. It's better than not having an arm.
As Philip's kind of loading his plate up, he'd ask, "Who was it that chopped it off?"
A misguided follower of mine. We didn't see eye to eye anymore. But that's not important. What's important is, what do you think of the rat steak? Honestly. Does it need more salt?
Philip would take his fork and knife and kind of try to hack through that, just completely fried outer layer, and then finally breaks through, and this little rat bit falls off. And picks it up with his fork, and he's going to try to eat it without actually eating it. Maybe palm it or something like that, and slip, make it look like he's actually munching down on it.
Awesome.
So, that's terrible. 11 for sleight of hand if he tries to do that.
Slimy Jack's kind of looking intently at you, Philip.
Well, what do you think, man?
Think maybe just a little easier on the salt and some more pepper would bring out the sort of gaminess of the rat.
Slimy Jack kind of snaps his fingers, and a goblin comes shambling up with a pad of paper and a quill, and he says,
Less salt, more pepper next time. That's good feedback. I appreciate that, man. Now, what other questions do you have for me as we enjoy this meal together?
Well, in the nearby village of Sandwall, which I'm sure you're familiar with,
Yeah.
there was a recent incident with they called it a man shark. A creature of indeed caused some rather some chaos and some deaths were involved. We're here to investigate.
You're here to investigate. Now, I thought you were just here to enjoy a home-cooked meal and some company.
Well, as I said, our purpose is complex.
I see.
Indeed, the food was a factor. However, I myself are under orders to find out about this creature and where it came from, what its purpose might be.
Well, I have to tell you, I don't know much about the man-shark, man. All I know is it originated from a deep, dark place in the sewers. I try to steer clear myself, and I advise my goblins to do the same. It's best not to trifle with things like that.
Well, then, you are a wise leader of your goblins, it seems.
I am, yes.
Are there more of these shark men that you know of? As I understand, the one that harassed the town was slain. But are there more? Can more be expected?
Well, I don't rightly know, if I'm being honest. Though I imagine there may be more than one. In any case, I wouldn't advise going any deeper into the sewers. If I were you.
He takes another bite of a sewer mushroom with his little silver fork, bringing it to his mouth with his tentacle.
Hmm.
Well, I thought that you, as one who knows something about these, well, I gesture awkwardly towards the tentacle. These manifestations as a result of the sludge.
Well, I can't say that I know more than you do if you're here under orders to investigate it. It has been a problem, as you can see. Some of my goblins have been affected.
Yes, my eyes flick to his arm. Okay.
Well, and myself as well. But we get by.
Have you ever thought of
it,
trying to nab one of those shark men and make some shark fin soup?
Shark fin soup. Hey, come here. Shark fin soup. Write that down. That's a good idea, Philip. I might have to do that, although I don't know if I'm up for hunting down one of those man sharks. They're bad business.
well, as we are in your domain, would you have any quarrel with us dealing with these shark men? I mean, they are a threat to the nearby community. I'm sure you don't want to cause unnecessary conflict with your neighbors.
He sets his fork down, grabs a napkin, kind of a doily napkin with his tentacle, and dabs at the edges of his mouth with his tentacle.
Well, as I said, Benson Cooper, I wouldn't advise going any deeper into the sewers than you already are. Unless you don't want to leave the sewers alive. In that case, be my guest.
Well, Mr. Slimy Jack, I appreciate your advice, but we do have instructions to deal with this situation. And the question still stands, do you have any issue with us slaying these beasts of the sewers? Not you people, of course. We have no quarrel with them.
Are you aware, Benson Cooper, of a bugbear here in the sewers? Surely that poses a greater threat than some mutated man sharks that dwell deep within the sewers and likely won't show their faces again.
Well, so far Sandwall has only been assailed by the sharks, and that we have been sent to deal with. We will, of course, report on anything else we find here, whether it's a pale bugbear or a tentacled individual like yourself. But our purpose here is to deal with the man shark problem at the moment.
Now, Benson Cooper, I don't remember mentioning that the bugbear was pale. Where would you get an idea like that?
Well, as I'm sure you know, to get here, we have seen this bugbear. We indeed killed some of his people, I believe, to get here, in fact.
Did you? Now,
I kind of lean in. Yes, we did.
You mentioned you
Looking.
couldn't remember who you had heard about me from, Benson Cooper. Maybe you heard about me from my old friend Snowhide. Maybe Snowhide told you where I was, where you could find me. Maybe Snowhide told you some lies about how I'm making problems worse here in the sewers.
That is an interesting story. Another story might be that my family has been the town guard for some time, and I had been told stories from my father of a brigand, let's say a man of personal interest named Slimy Jack. So the tentacle wasn't mentioned. That's new.
It is a new feature, yes. So, I've fed you, I've answered your questions, and you want to know if you can have my blessing to kill the man sharks deeper in the sewer. Well, I'll tell you this. I've warned you. I've told you not to go. And yet still you persist. So I say, have at it.
Well, then that's that, isn't it?
I guess it is.
And Brush does one of those really loud stretches that you do when it's a really awkward, tense moment. He's like, "Ugh." I don't know about you guys, but that was amazing. I am stuffed like a tick. So we should probably be going. Very nice to meet you, Mr. Slimy Jack. Definitely
Leaving
going to
already.
give you a good review on Yelp. And be seeing you.
Leaving already. And before dessert, he kind of snaps, and some goblins come forward. And he says, we'll be having roasted head of goblin. And a goblin's head lands on the table. One of Snowhide's goblins. Covering your retreat, I think. There were 6 of them. But it didn't take my boys long to cut through them. The doors close. And Slimy Jack says, no, no, no. Can't have you leaving before dessert. And that is where we will end our session for tonight. We picked up later on. Awesome. The chat says no combat. No combat. We're at 3 hours, so I don't want to get too deep into it here. But
Oh man, that was intense. So that was like a scene in the Tarantino movie where you just know like someone's about to jump up and smack somebody or something.
Everyone has their guns under the table, just like trained on everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just imagined that Gabriel was sitting there closed mouth and just fuming the whole time.
Well, I'm glad that.
Yeah, that was tense. I gotta say, Matt, I loved, and I can tell from the chat, everybody loved the portrayal, the subtle but effective portrayal of Slimy Jack.
Yeah, that's my recipe for Slimy Jack is a little dash of Locrius and a little dash of David Bowie from the Labyrinth, and boom, you got it. But yeah, I had a great time, great role playing from these guys. I'm really looking forward to our 3rd session. I think the 3rd session should be our final session. I think we'll be able to wrap it up in 3. I'm going to toss it to these guys really quick so they can do their outros, and then we'll go ahead and end the session for tonight. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. So, Ben, go ahead and do your outro.
All right, well, I had a good time tonight. Hi, Mom. I know you're watching. And see you guys next time.
Awesome. All right, Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for watching. It's a lot of fun. If you're interested in some really cool role-playing material, I have some stuff I publish on under Critical Hit Publishing on Drive-Thru RPG. Go there. There's a new series out called Cinematic Environs, where you can turn your environment into another character in your role-playing game. So check that out, Drive-Thru RPG. And awesome job, Matt. This is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. All right, Carl, go ahead.
Alrighty. I'm Carl from the channel D20+1. Don't have a whole lot to plug anyone right now, except if you guys want to check out Beyond the Horizon. We just started not too long ago. We're only about 2 sessions in. And yeah, other than that, everybody should check out and purchase anything that has anything to do with Absolute Tabletop and all the other great people here. So buy their stuff, guys. Like, for real.
Thank you, Carl. All right, Jake, go ahead.
Well, big thank you to Matt and the rest of the Absolute Tabletop guys for this awesome Sewers Under Sandwall, and for running the game for us, Matt. Huge thanks to Ben and Alex and everybody else. Jeez. There's one other person, Carl. I'm like looking down here. I'm like,
You're like,
I'm stalling.
big thanks to everyone except Carl.
Will's here? No, everybody. I'm talking about the goblins. I'm talking about Flammy Jack, but not Carl. But yeah, thanks to all these guys. Head over to Mini Terrain Domain on YouTube if you want to see how to make some cool dungeon terrain and miniature stuff. Or check out Fat Jake the Fit Jake if you're interested in following along on a journey to becoming a better, more healthy, fitter person. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you guys again. And my mom is not watching, but I've just been informed that my in-laws are watching. So hi, Jim and Heidi. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in and watching. Again, yeah, so check out Critical Hit Publishing, check out Absolute Tabletop, check out these guys' channels and the awesome games that they're running and the awesome stuff they're doing. And we'll be back with part 3 sooner rather than later, I hope. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys later.